guys, it's Emma. Today I have a book haul for you. There's 22 books to show you. Before I get started though, the title may seem misleading. You might be under the impression that I got all of these books for Christmas, like as presents or something, but I didn't get any of these books for Christmas. These are simply just books that I brought back from home that I found around my house that have always been there on the shelves, but I've just never read them, and since I've gotten into BookTube, I wanted to read a lot more. So, let's get started. First one I got was The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. If you don't know, it's about this guy named Dorian Gray who sells his soul or exchanges his soul for eternal life in the form of this painting. The painting, it's a portrait of him, and it grows older each day in the way that he should in real life. In real life, is able to continue living as if he's not aging, so that the painting kind of ages for him, but he gets to be eternally young in reality. But I think there's something like if he looks at the painting, then all of it will catch up with him or something. I'm not entirely sure exactly, but that's the gist of it. So it sounds really interesting, and of course it's a classic, you know, everybody knows about it, but I've just never read it, so finally I'm going to read it. Then next I have Emma by Jane Austen. This is actually the book that my mom was reading when she was pregnant with me, and this is the book that she named me after, was because my name's Emma, so this is where she got my name from, so I thought I should probably read this, because, you know, plus I've just never read Jane Austen in general, so, yeah, I look forward to reading that one. Next I have To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. I read Mrs. Dalloway when I was home, and I really liked it. It was my first Virginia Woolf book, so I thought I wanted to read more of her, and To the Lighthouse is supposed to be one of her, really well-known ones, or really one of her better ones or something. I don't know. It's one of her more popular ones, I guess. So, and my mom's read it, she said it was really good, and then I should read it, so I'm gonna read it. And I think it's about a family. They spend their time on this island, and there's a lighthouse there, and there's, you know, I think it's about, some drama or something. One summer they go there, and then, you know, some sort of conflict arises that wasn't there before, and I'm not entirely sure, but it sounds intriguing. The next I have is actually a play, and it's called A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. And it was first published in 1879, and it says here on the back that it rewrote the rules of drama, because this guy, Henrik Ibsen, he typically apparently wrote plays about upper-class people, but this play, A Doll's House, actually focused on more ordinary people, so it was kind of the first of its time, I guess, sort of, in a way. That's what I'm getting from this. The next I have is Jane Austen's Northanger Abbey. Again, I've never read any Jane Austen, and along with Emma, I thought I'd read Northanger Abbey as well. It sounds intriguing. I think it's about this young girl that goes to this abbey, and she kind of gets wrapped up in the spookiness of the place and starts imagining things, you know, when your mind plays tricks on you because you're already so scared that you're just kind of imagining things. I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be, but because it talks about gothic horror and stuff, so I'm not sure if it's supposed to be scary or if it's, I really don't know, but it just sounds really intriguing. So if you know more about it, please let me know, but don't spoil anything. Then next I have is Animal Farm by George Orwell. I actually have read this. I read this in high school for my English class, and I did an essay on it, but that was ages ago, so I thought I should probably reread it again. And then I also have 1984 by George Orwell, which I've never read, but of course this is a really popular one that everybody, a lot of people, I always hear them talking about it, and so I thought I should probably read it. The next I have The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. This is simply about, I don't know, I'm not sure what this is about, but it talks about insanity and stuff, and creepiness happening in this house with these people, and I don't know, but it just sounds really good. The next I have is Piccadilly Gym by P.G. Wodehouse. My dad read it, said it was really good, and I had to read it, so, and I need to start reading P.G. Wodehouse anyway, so that I just brought this one back with me. That's why I'm looking forward to that one. I think it's about these two guys who are at some costume party thing. They keep getting mistaken for each other or something. P.G. Wodehouse, he writes, basically he's comedic stuff that happens in the 1920s. I've watched the TV shows Jeeves and Wooster, and I love them, so I'm pretty sure I'll like the books too. The next I have is The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. My mom read this, said it was really good, and I had to read it, and it's basically about this young governess. She's sent to this country house to care for these two orphan children, but as time goes on she realizes that something is very wrong with them, So it sounds kind of creepy, sounds kind of intriguing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. The next I have is The Merry-Go-Round by W. Somerset Maugham. I still don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's Maugham. So I think it's set in the 1920s, because I think it was written back then, or sometime around then. And I think it's about this woman, Miss Lay. She's a spinster, and she kind of gets wrapped up in this web of lies and like this tanglement of like predicaments and stuff with these other people. And yeah, I'm not really sure what else, but it sounds really good. So yeah. The next I have is Dear Life Stories by Alice Munro. It's a collection of some of her short stories. Alice Munro is a Canadian author, and she is really well known. Apparently, I've not really heard of her until recently, and I did try and actually start reading this a while ago. I think I read the first story, and then I started to read the second short story. And there's nothing wrong with her writing, but I just found it was super confusing. I wasn't sure what was going on, so I have to start over again. And yeah, but it wasn't bad or anything. I just wasn't getting it, so I will try it again. So I look forward to that one. And then next I have is The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. I don't know how you say that, but this apparently is another one that's like well known and that everybody's read and says it's really good. But I've never read it. I keep hearing about it. There's a movie now as well, so I figured I should probably read this. About time I should. Then next I have is The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. This, I just found it on the bookcase at home. I have no idea. I've never heard of this person before. But this guy named Tony, and he kind of lives a bit of a wild life, and then now he's retired. But then he suddenly gets a surprise letter from this lawyer, and some of the problems or things that he did in his life, throughout his life, are starting to catch up with him now. So it sounds interesting, and it's pretty short. The next I have is Alexander McCall Smith's The Comforts of a Muddy Saturday. Yep, Saturday. I have read one of his books before. The book I read was The #1 Ladies Detective Agency. That was the one of his that I read like years ago when I was little. And I do remember I liked it, but I don't remember like really much about it. So this one I had at home, so I thought I'd try it. And it's about a doctor whose his career is kind of being ruined by allegations of medical fraud. So it sounds kind of interesting. The next I have is How to Build a Girl by Caitlin Moran. I've read her other book, How to Be a Woman, but that is a non-fiction book. It's like a autobiographical, whereas this one is actually fiction. It's a novel about a girl who, I don't know, it's about a girl named Joanna, and she's 14 years old. I guess it's kind of about her and her teenage life and things that she deals with. And it's supposed to be pretty funny because she's known for kind of her funniness when she writes. So, and I did like her other book, How to Be a Woman, even though it was non-fiction. I like that one, so I'm looking forward to trying this one because it is fiction, so I'm looking forward to see what kind of like a story she actually comes up with. Yeah. The next I have is The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. My dad gave me this to read because he said that it was a really big book back in the 80s, like it was really popular, it was like a big sensation, and he says it was like awful, it was like utter crap. So, because we were talking the other day about how like a lot of books nowadays are, get like worshipped by everybody, and then you read them and they're like total crap, and it's like, how is this possible? Why does this happen? So he said, well, an example from the 80s was this one, The Celestine Prophecy, and it's kind of like the Da Vinci Code. It's something like that, similar. But yeah, so he says that yeah, back in the 80s it was like, a really big sensational book that everybody just loved, and he read it and he said it was crap. So he's given it to me to read so I can see what I think of it. And yeah. The next I have is The Waves by Virginia Woolf. Basically, when I was home after I read Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, I was just kind of looking for other books that she had that we had lying around the house, and this was one of them. And this again was another one of her books that is very well known and that people often say is, you should definitely read this one. And so it says basically it follows the development from childhood to youth to middle age of I'm not really sure of who, but I guess it's just of someone or a few people. I don't really know. But yeah, it sounds interesting, and I want to try more Virginia Woolf, so I brought this one back. The next I have is An Academic Question by Barbara Pym. So it's about this woman, she's kind of dissatisfied, and she decides to read to the blind in this nursing home. She reads to this man, he's an anthropologist, and her husband decides to use this to his advantage and try to steal his papers because he is also an anthropologist or something, where he works like on he's part of this faculty at some university. I have read one of this author's books before. It was Excellent Women by Barbara Pym, and what I really like about her books, it seems that, at least the ones that I found, it seems like all of them deal with like anthropology, and I'm an anthropology student, so it's kind of cool. So I brought this one back, and I also brought back this one, Less Than Angels by Barbara Pym. It says this woman named Catherine is a writer, and she lives with an anthropologist named Tom, and so the relationship runs into trouble when he starts to begin a romance with one of his students. So again, there's more anthropology involved, and yeah. Next I have is Mistress of the Sun by Sandra Gilland, I don't know. So this is a historical book set in France during King Louis XIV's time, and it's about this woman named Louise. She is really good with horses, and she rides, and she has this way with horses, and she also kind of gets involved with someone in the royal family, I think, and it's kind of a story about a love story of like mystery and betrayals and interesting stuff. I'm not really sure. My mom read it, said it was really good, and that I really, I ride horses, and I used to have a horse, and I really like horses, so because the main character is like a horsewoman, I think that'll be fun to read. So I'm finally gonna actually get around to reading it now. The last one I got is the Jane Austen Book Club by Karen Joy Fowler. This was in my sister's bookcase in her room, and she said it was okay. She kind of liked it, but I don't know. I kind of read what it was about, and it's about these 5 women who join together to discuss Jane Austen's novels. And over the 6 months that they meet, it says marriages are tested, affairs begin, unsuitable arrangements become suitable, and love happens. So it's kind of drama that happens with this book club of these women who meet up to discuss Jane Austen's books. So I'm looking forward to it. Kind of sounds kind of fun and interesting. So yeah. So that is my holiday book haul. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.